Have you ever noticed that the happiest moments in life are not necessarily when you're relaxing on the couch, scrolling your phone, or chasing entertainment, but when you're completely absorbed in something meaningful? Maybe you were creating, learning, working, gaming, writing, building, or even having a deep conversation, and suddenly hours passed like minutes. You felt focused, energized, and fully alive. According to psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, that state is called flow, and mastering it may be the secret to a truly fulfilling life. In the book Flow, Csikszentmihalyi explains that happiness is not something that simply happens to us. It's not based on luck, money, status, or external success alone. Instead, real happiness comes from learning how to control our attention and direct our energy toward experiences that fully engage us. Most people spend their lives reacting to circumstances, constantly distracted, stressed, or mentally scattered. But people who experience flow regularly tend to feel more satisfied, creative, productive, and emotionally fulfilled. So, what exactly is flow? Flow is the mental state where you become so immersed in an activity that everything else disappears. Your concentration becomes effortless, self-doubt fades away, time feels distorted. You're not thinking about yourself anymore. You're simply doing. Athletes call it being in the zone. Artists experience it while creating. Entrepreneurs feel it while solving problems. Gamers experience it during intense gameplay. Anyone can experience flow when the challenge of the activity perfectly matches their skill level. One of the key ideas in the book is that the human mind naturally drifts toward chaos. If we don't intentionally focus our attention, negative thoughts, anxiety, boredom, and distractions take over. That's why so many people feel unhappy even after achieving success. They may have wealth or comfort, but their minds remain unfocused and restless. Csikszentmihalyi argues that the quality of our lives ultimately depends on where we place our attention. In other words, your life is what you pay attention to. The author explains that flow happens when there's a balance between challenge and skill. If a task is too easy, we become bored. If it's too difficult, we feel anxious or overwhelmed. But when the challenge stretches our abilities just enough, we enter a state of deep engagement. Think about learning a new skill. At first, it may feel frustrating, but once your abilities improve and the challenge remains exciting, you become fully involved. That sweet spot is where flow lives. Another important condition for flow is having clear goals and immediate feedback. When you know exactly what you're trying to achieve and can instantly see your progress, your brain becomes fully engaged. This is why games are so addictive. They constantly provide goals, challenges, and rewards. But Csikszentmihalyi believes we can design our real lives the same way. Work, study, exercise, relationships, and hobbies can all become deeply rewarded if approached with focus and purpose. One fascinating point from the book is that enjoyment and pleasure are not the same thing. Pleasure is passive and temporary. Watching TV, eating junk food, or endlessly scrolling social media may feel good for a moment, but they rarely create lasting fulfillment. Enjoyment, on the other hand, comes from growth. It requires effort, concentration, and involvement. After a flow experience, you feel stronger, more capable, and more alive. That's why meaningful challenges often create deeper happiness than comfort ever can. Csikszentmihalyi also talks about work and how, surprisingly, many people actually experience more flow at work than during leisure time. At work, goals are often clear, skills are tested, and feedback is immediate. But during free time, people often fall into passive habits that don't truly engage the mind. The problem is not the work itself, it's the way we think about it. When we approach work as an opportunity to grow and master skills, it becomes far more satisfying. The book also explores how flow can improve relationships. Genuine conversations, shared activities, listening deeply, and giving full attention to others can all create meaningful experiences. In today's world where distractions constantly interrupt our attention, being fully present with another person has become rare and incredibly valuable. Flow teaches us that quality experiences are built through intentional focus. Another powerful lesson from the book is that people who cultivate flow become less dependent on external rewards. They develop what the author calls an autotelic personality. An autotelic person does things for the joy of doing them, not only for money, praise, or recognition. They enjoy learning, improving, and challenging themselves. This mindset creates resilience, because happiness no longer depends entirely on external circumstances. Even difficult situations can become meaningful when approached with curiosity and purpose. Csikszentmihalyi shares examples from artists, climbers, scientists, dancers, surgeons, and ordinary people who transformed everyday activities into sources of joy. The common factor wasn't fame or talent, it was the ability to fully engage with the present moment. Flow is available to anyone willing to focus deeply and embrace meaningful challenges. One of the most practical ideas in the book is that we must protect our attention because attention is our most valuable resource. Every distraction steals energy from the experiences that could truly fulfill us. In a world filled with notifications, endless content, and constant noise, learning to focus has become almost like a superpower. The people who control their attention control the quality of their lives. The book doesn't claim that life becomes perfect through flow. Pain, stress, and hardship still exist, but flow changes how we experience life. Instead of feeling trapped by circumstances, we become active participants in our own growth. We stop waiting for happiness and start creating it through meaningful engagement. By the end of flow, the message becomes very clear. Happiness is not something we find, it's something we build. It grows through concentration, purpose, challenge, and presence. The moments that make life truly worth living are often the moments when we lose ourselves completely in something meaningful. If this summary inspired you, then the full audiobook of Flow by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi is absolutely worth listening to. The complete book dives much deeper into psychology, creativity, focus, and the science of happiness, with insights that can genuinely change how you approach work, learning, and everyday life. And if you enjoyed this summary, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and check the link in the description for the full audiobook. Keep learning, keep growing, and most importantly, keep finding your flow.